This is question number 4 of homework 1 for session 2. So we are provided with a partial balance sheet and income statement. So we are asked to calculate some numbers from both balance sheet and I guess mainly from the balance sheet. And then we are asked to calculate the cash flow from assets. So the first thing I would like to do for this type of question is to copy this table to Excel. That can facilitate the calculation. So copy, and when you paste, choose as text, and then just do some adjustment for the texts. So that's basically after we got this is my balance sheet. And I also copy this income statement just in case later I might use some place down here. Again, paste by special and text. So back to the question A, what is owner's equity for these 2 years? So to figure out owner's equity, you can see that left-hand side we're provided with current assets and net fixed assets. So from this we can figure out the total assets, right? So that's very easy. It's gonna be the sum of these two, current assets and fixed assets. So just extend this calculation to the other years. And then on the right-hand side, the liabilities and owner's equity. The liabilities were provided with current liabilities and long-term debt. So the only thing which is missing is owner's equity. Actually, the first part of the question asks us to calculate this number, but we know that liabilities and owner's equity should be equal, right? Should be equal to the total assets based on the balance sheet identity. So which is directly equal to corresponding to the years, corresponding to the year, right? So this is going to be equal to the corresponding total assets. So now we also know that current assets plus long-term debt plus owner's equity should be equal to the liabilities and owner's equity. And so we can back out this owner's equity by subtracting the sum of these two liabilities items from the total liabilities and owner's equity. So that's how we can get this owner's equity. And extend this calculation to the other year. So now I have basically figured out these two owners' equity. And the rest of the job is simply to copy the number back. Owner's equity for 2017 is going to be 2989. So 2989. And owner's equity for 2018 is going to be 3975. So this 3975. Okay, so that's part A. Part B is what is change in net working capital for 2018. So to calculate the change, we first need to calculate the level, right? What is the net working capital? Net working capital basically is current assets minus current liabilities. So for each year, we can calculate net working capital by the difference between current assets and the current liabilities. So that's basically the net working capital for 2017, and we can extend the calculation for 2018. And now I can do the change. Change is simply equal to the level of NWC for 2018 minus the level of NWC for 2017. So that gives me 90. Okay, that gives me 90. So just copy the number back. Change in net working capital is 90. and fixed assets sold. So that's the next question. In 2018, Parrot Head Enterprises purchased $2,688 in new fixed assets. How much in fixed assets did Parrot Head Enterprises sell? So basically, linking this information, we should think about this is related to capital expenditure, right? So in the next slides, we talk about two ways we can figure out net capital spending, which is capital expenditure. One way is based on net fixed assets. So that formula is the change in net fixed assets plus depreciation expense. Notice here depreciation is depreciation expense. It's not accumulated depreciation, which means that we should find the number from the income statement rather than from the balance sheet. And the second way to get the net capital spending or capital expenditure is basically the change in gross fixed assets. So for this question, there's no information about accumulated depreciation, hence we cannot figure out gross fixed assets. So the only way we can figure out net capital spending is net fixed assets. So, and then back to my Excel worksheet, just maybe add another 1 or 2 rows, maybe just more rows in case I ever need the information. So net capital spending will be the change, right? It would be the change in net fixed assets. So it's going to be the net fixed assets at 2018 minus the net fixed assets at 2017. And don't forget, because we are basing the calculation based on the net fixed assets, so we need to add back the depreciation expense, and we find that number from the income statement. So that gives me the net capital spending, which is how much the firm spent in acquiring new assets in that particular year in 2018 on net. So the question also tells us that the firm purchased this much of the being fixed new fixed assets, and the question asked us what did the firm sell in that year, and we know that the amount that the firm purchased minus the amount that the firm sold should be exactly equal to this net capital spending. So in other words, net capital spending, another way to figure out this number is simply based on amount purchased minus amount sold. All right, so amount purchased is simply 2988, right? That's sorry, 2688. Yeah, I just typed the 286, but I pronounced the 29. So, and then our amount purchased is given minus the amount sold should be equal to this 2538. Right, so that means we can figure out amount sold should be equal to 2688 minus 2538. So that gives me 150, right? So if you want to find out why this is the case, just use another worksheet as the formula, right? So just type this. Basically, this is my other worksheet. Just use so amount purchased minus amount sold equals net capital spending. Hence, amount sold equals amount purchased minus NCS. That's basically the formula I followed in getting this amount. So if you look at the cell reference, it's J14, which is the amount purchased. So that's exactly amount purchased minus net capital spending, which is F13. F13 is the net capital spending. So now I can copy this number back, 150, fixed assets sold. And the final part is what is same information as part C minus -1. What is the cash flow from assets for the year? basically, we know the relationship, right? We know the relationship between the cash flow and operating total cash flow, right? Total cash flow or cash flow from assets. Total cash flow should be equal to operating cash flow minus change in NWC minus net capital spending. So that's basically the relationship. And so far, we actually have figured out the change in WC, right? And NCS. So the only thing in order to figure out this, the only thing that we need to know in order to figure out this total cash flow is simply the operating cash flow. So for operating cash flow, we know the formula, right? OCF, start from EBIT, and then we add back the depreciation, and then we deduct the taxes. Right, so that's basically depreciation. Here, depreciation again is the depreciation expense. So now we need to use the income statement, right? So income statement and add one line here, which is EBIT. So EBIT basically is sales minus costs and minus the depreciation, right? So that's basically EBIT. So EBIT and then minus interest expense, we arrive at EBT or taxable income, right? So that's basically a typical income statement. And taxes will be based on the taxable income. So going back to the setup, it's provided that the tax rate is 24%. So the taxes here will be based on EBT multiplied by 24%. And we need to check the rounding requirement. Do not round intermediate calculations. I think it doesn't tell us the final answer, so just put, I guess if you look at the number here, it's all rounded to integer numbers, so that might be the default assumption here. So now I have everything ready in order to plug in this formula. I have the EBIT, I have the depreciation and the taxes. So my OCF will be EBIT and add back depreciation and subtract the taxes. So, and then finally, TCF will be OCF minus the change in net capital spend, net working capital. It's right here, the change in net working capital. And then minus the NCS, right, net capital spending. So that gives me $4,509, which is the final answer, $4,509. So now I can check my work. And all correct.